Let's go back to Indiana in the 1920s. The white supremacist group known as the Ku Klux Klan had just taken root in this great state and would eventually experience their greatest period of growth under their leader, Grand Dragon D.C. Stevens. In the middle of all this racial development, there was the foundation of Cathedral High School on the corner of Meridian and 14th Street.
Around the time Cathedral was founded, 1918, the KKK was gaining more and more members in Indiana following World War I. But the group experienced their most growth under the leadership of Stevenson, who at one point called himself the most powerful man in Indiana. This seemingly outrageous claim might not have been too far from the truth, as he was able to organize public events for his Klan.
Stevenson was recruited by Joseph M. Huffington to be part of the Klan's inner circle in Evansville. Under the leadership of Huffington and Stevenson, the Evansville Clavern became the largest in the state, and soon 5,400 men, or 23% of the native-born white men of Vanderbilt County, were part of the Klan.
Using this momentum, Stevenson set up base in Indianapolis. There, he helped create the Klan's state newspaper, Fiery Cross, which added to the attention the KKK was getting. To keep the media's eye on the Klan, Stevenson offered free memberships to Protestant ministers and hired more recruiters and organizers. Because of Stevenson's efforts, the Klan gained 2,000 new members in a year and became the largest state chapter of the KKK.
Stevenson amassed so much wealth and power as Grand Dragon that in 1923 he broke off his affiliation with the national organization of the KKK and formed his own Klan made up of the chapters he governed. Fortunately, all of Stevenson's achievements and grandeur were not meant to last.
In 1925, scandal ripped apart Stevenson's public image when he was tried and convicted for the rape and murder of Madge Oberholzer. Though the Klan tried to uphold their image of morality, evidence kept coming forth to prove that Stevenson and his associates were womanizers and alcoholics in private. This caused the rapid decline of the KKK. Membership went from 6 million in 1924 to a measly 30,000 in 1930.
You might be wondering how Cathedral fit into all of this. Well, we were able to interview 1970 Cathedral High School alumnus and the current Vice President of Operations, Mr. Jim McLinn, about Cathedral's actions against the KKK and racism in the 1920s.
D.C. Stevens is in Indianapolis. He's the head dragon. He at one time made the statement that I am the most, D.C. Stevens is Indiana. I'm the most powerful man in the state of Indiana. And the critics took that as being that he had political people, he had policemen, he had everybody in his pocket, so to speak. At one time, it was something like 10% of the population of Indianapolis was a clandestine member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Wow.
There was also, which is not talked about very often, there was a ladies' auxiliary of the Ku Klux Klan. But anyway, so as the story goes, D.C. Stevens, the most powerful man, self-proclaimed most powerful man in Indiana, he gets it through the city planners to allow him to have a parade of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, you've seen pictures, I'm sure, Ku Klux Klan in all white robes and white hoods. Okay, so imagine somewhere between 500 and 1,000 men in white robes, just like our band marches, okay? 1,000 guys, white robes, hoods, marching down Meridian Street. Now, Cathedral was located at 14th and Meridian, and catty corner across the street was the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, which is still there today.
Yeah.
The St. Peter and Paul Cathedral is the house of the bishop, okay? And so it was the mainstay Catholic identity in the state of Indiana. Well, the parade started at 16th and Meridian, and it headed south. And basically, the parade route was walking south on Meridian Street to Monument Circle. And then there was going to be a rally on Monument Circle or whatever. Okay, so here they start off. And you're talking about 1,000 guys in white sheets and hoods. Well, the boys from Cathedral, okay, and the men who were part of the KFC, Knights of Columbus, okay, that's kind of the adult version of Catholic Men's Club type of thing. This is Cathedral High School on 14th and Meridian, okay, as the story goes. So here's the Ku Klux Klan marching down the street, okay, from this corner to this corner, locked arm in arm, the boys of Cathedral in their leather sweaters or their leather jackets lined this street curb right there. In other words, you're not breaking through and you're not doing anything to our Catholic school. Because at the time, and still today, the Ku Klux Klan were African Americans, blacks, called them Negroes at the time, and Catholics. Those were the two different groups that they hated the most. And they use in their literature the word hate. So our boys locked arm in arm out in front of the school to protect the school from the KKK. And now, if you can visualize, across the street right here is the St. Peter and Paul Cathedral. And the men from the Knights of Columbus, and in all their regalia and their hats and their jackets or whatever, they stood arm in arm in front of the church to protect the church from the KKK. So where the story really gets fun and interesting is, actually, right on this corner used to be a fire hydrant, okay? And so now you depict the boys lined up along here. And on every street corner from 16th Street to Monument Circle, there was a policeman stationed. Okay, kind of a crowd control kind of thing.
Yep.
Okay, well, the way the story goes, Officer O'Leary, okay, good Irish Catholic guy,
Yeah.
he was stationed on that corner. There was a fire hydrant. One of the young men of Cathedral distracted him or said to him, "Hey, Officer O'Leary, look at, that down the street." Officer knew exactly what was going on, and he turned and drew his attention to down the street. In the meantime, the boys, I'm sure their father was a fireman, but they got one of the wrenches needed to open up the fire hydrant. And right as the lead pack of the KKK came across this corner, they opened up the fire hydrant. Although it was pre-planned, no doubt, but a fire hydrant, when you open it without a hose, it'll shoot water 50 feet away at a high volume. But anyway, so the boys opened it up, Ku Klux Klan's walking by, and it doused like the first 100. They started running in the whole 9 yards. Of course, the boys are all laughing, and some of the people, the Knights of Columbus, they're cheering the boys, the whole 9 yards. But the message that was sent was, we know you hate us, okay? We know you hate Catholics. We know you hate Negroes. But it was that sign of unity of the boys of Cathedral High School that you, KKK, you Catholic haters, you're not going to do anything to our school. You got to fight your way through us. And again, these were grown men in the KKK, most of them. But if a fight had broken out, my money was on the Cathedral boys, just because they were driven by the heart.
As you can see, Cathedral was able to uphold the values that make up the Congregation of the Holy Cross. To this day, Cathedral students are taught these same values so that we may fight whatever moral dilemma takes root in our society, just as those who came before us once did.